Episode 23 of The Drop in the house, coming in hot on Friday, November 27th, the day after Thanksgiving. MK, are you in a food coma still, my friend?
I am. I mean, I just had leftovers like 2 hours ago.
So did I.
Potatoes, stuffing, and sweet potato mashed potatoes.
Yeah, whatever.
All carbs. But I didn't throw up. I didn't throw up this year.
As it's usually your goal. I know your goal is to throw up and then continue eating after.
No, not to throw up. I tried not to throw up in the middle of the night, but I didn't throw up, so that was good.
And it's interesting that we didn't do an over/under this year about
usually you do. I mean, Usually I send out the text with the green emoji,
yes,
with the throwing up, or the regular emoji, and then you and Jen vote on which one it's going to be. I didn't do that this year. Last year it was the yellow. I passed, and I've learned to control myself to the point where I'm. So
you're growing up. You're growing up.
I'm a big boy now, so
good.
Yeah.
Well, our Thanksgiving was very quiet, as it was arranged to be with everything that's going on this year, especially here in New York. We kept it very quiet, just stayed home. The five of us just, chilling. I know the COVID-19 concern has hit a little closer to home for us, and I have my oldest daughter was contact traced this past week at school with a student who tested positive, so she's quarantining, so she was very upset about that. She's not positive, thank God, but the boyfriend's home from college and she hasn't been able to see him, and dad's not really upset about that myself, but I understand that she's upset, and so we just we kept everything quiet. She was supposed to
you may need to quarantine for
like 2 years. Yeah, but it was nice and quiet. We did have my folks sent food over, which was great. So we didn't miss out on.
So you didn't have to cook then, which is good.
I didn't have to really do much of anything, which was nice, which I don't usually do anyway. But it was
it's like ordering Thanksgiving takeout, basically.
Exactly. Yeah. Today, though, the day after was quite interesting. Dropped quite a bunch of money on new brakes today. My brakes were going on my truck and had to get that done. But my continuing battle with my Christmas lights continues year after year, MK.
It's always a battle.
It was, I can give you the long and short of it. 3 trips to the store, 2+ hours. I was tired. I was hangry. By 3:30, I had finally finished the last, row, and I got it all up, and I'm just miserable. And there was an entire plethora of vulgarities that had been spewed all afternoon.
Listen, it's not setting up holiday lights if you don't curse and if you don't yell at your kids. Did you at least yell at your kids?
No, my kids are smart enough to stay inside, away from me at all times.
See, mine aren't.
But I had just finished the last row, and I fold up the ladder, and I'm lugging it across the front lawn, and young 4-year-old little girl and her dad walked by, and they're walking the dog, and this little kid in his cutest voice turns and says, "I really like your decorations." And that just made the whole day. It was just, and I literally said to her, it's
basically the winter version of somebody commenting on your lawn.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what it was. And I literally said to her, I was like, "Sweetie, you just made my entire afternoon."
My sweet.
Like that. It was all, yes, my sweet. It was just, that's what I needed to hear right at that moment. And it made it all worthwhile again. So everything went back to normal.
I haven't got outside yet. I did half of the inside.
If I didn't do it today, on the day that we had, it was a beautiful day.
Today it's like 65, 70 degrees outside.
That's the only way I was going to get it done. The only way.
Yeah, I'm hoping it's like that tomorrow when I go out there.
I'm keeping my fingers crossed.
I got to do the tree and then outside, and then that's it. I'm trying to get it all done by Monday.
So this episode, oh my goodness, Tony Firpi, our friend from Miami, just outside Miami, is the owner, CEO, founder of Devious Elements Apparel Streetwear, our first designer / fashion streetwear person. Just
all around creative.
Oh, all around creative. I know you got a lot out of it in terms of graphic design, and layout, and
a lot of stuff that I preach to my students. Now they'll get to hear it from somebody else, which is awesome.
Right. and just the quality of the merchandise that he has and the artists that he works with, the collaborations that he worked with. I mean, just great information, great, like we like to say, the great nuggets that we pull out.
Yep.
Things we can use in the classroom, things we can use in real life. Just an all-around great guy. So glad we hooked up with him. And he was at first hesitant why we would even bother, reaching out to him. He had looked at all of our episodes. He was like, you've had all these people on. What the heck do you want with me? But just a great addition to these episodes.
Absolutely. Yeah. Different point of view, too. I loved it.
Fantastic. So everybody strap in. Enjoy the ride. Episode 23 of The Drop. Here we go. We are rolling with episode 23. Oh, my goodness. November 27th, the day after Thanksgiving. MK, we are in the house. We have food comas, but we are ready to go with our special guest today. We are so excited to have the one and only Mr. Tony Firpi with us.
Yeah.
There he is, right down from South Florida, right outside the Miami area. We are so psyched. Welcome, Tony, to The Drop.
Oh, man, it's so awesome to be here. You guys, you just should be like more cinematic. Like, you guys are going to add a bunch of like... To The Drop was.
You like that? I like it. I'm liking it. Yo,
it's beyond my capabilities, though.
I gotta say, I'm gonna start off by saying we had MK what probably was hands down a historic pre-check.
It was a fun one.
Tony last week. It literally ran almost 2 full hours.
I lost time. I don't even know where time went. That I just like. I'm not even gonna imagine what the time is. I just like ended up and woke up like Quantum Leap, like the dude from Quantum Leap. And I was just like, we're done? Man, did I just like recite?
It's crazy. It was great. It was
an episode in itself.
It was. It was
like
epic.
A sub episode.
It was.
Probably could.
You should. I mean, 2-parter.
Bonus features.
Bonus features. Yeah. Yo, that would be crazy.
Got
let me tell you, this guy has been all over the place. He is incredibly prolific. He's got his hands in so many things. He is
prolific, dude. I want to stop. You said prolific. Nobody has ever put.
Well, for real. No. Well, let me give people some background about who Tony Firpi is. Tony Firpi is the owner, CEO, founder of Devious Elements Apparel Streetwear, based out of South Florida, just outside Miami. And he is a world-renowned photographer. He's a graphic designer. He's a painter. He's kind of like the ultimate Renaissance man, if you ask me, MK. I mean, we've been checking out all his social media platforms.
Can't keep track of
wow.
Yeah, all of his websites.
I'm tearing up a little bit, man. Seriously, I'm like, whoa, it sounds so much better from the outside.
Well, I'm telling you, when you talk about
it looks good from the outside.
Though. It does.
Oh,
it really does.
Cool. I appreciate it, guys. I really
we've had creative people, Tony, on here who, the moniker of hustler gets thrown around really quickly and really easily. But for real, straight up talking to you, you hustle like nobody I've ever seen on this program at all.
Thanks, guys.
You really have, because this guy, and we're going to get to his story, but this guy's got
hustlers, no hustlers.
Exactly. that's how it goes. For sure. I'll cheer to hustle.
I don't have anything with me right
now. No, Mike doesn't. MK doesn't have anything.
You could have just pretended and just added it in CGI later.
Yeah, there we go.
And we're gonna get to that too. This guy knows so many different things. He's got his hands in so many different things. Tony, what we want to start off with, like we do with all of our guests, is our superhero Avenger origin story. We want to know the Tony Firpi story. MK and I have been, reading up on, everything that you've done, your bio, your background. I know for
police
sure
reports.
Exactly. He's got. We know for a fact that you were born right here in Brooklyn, in New York, and then eventually moved to South Florida. You said at about 5 years old. Is that correct?
Yeah,
give us that timeline for us.
Totally. So about 5 years old, we moved to a suburb of South Florida called Hialeah, Florida. It's primarily Cuban and Haitian Americans. You've heard of Little Haiti and Calle Ocho And I said that so gringo, guys. I'm sorry. All my Spanish friends are gonna hear me.
Do you want to re-say it?
Se llama Calle Ocho. Calle Ocho.
There we go.
There you go. It's out there. Look, it's Friday now. Okay. So
8th Street. It's 8th Street. I mean, we translate that. 8th Street. Okay.
There you go. So it's a suburb out of Miami, which Miami is a lot of suburbs on the south part of Florida. Next to Broward County, Florida, which also I have lived back and forth for after I moved back to moved to South Florida when I was about 5, and my mother, my father, my older brother Alex, we moved into a place where there was a liquor store down the street, but also a Cuban bakery, always a Cuban restaurant, somewhere that there was always a laundromat, and everybody always knew each other, like in the neighborhood, like you could walk down the road and each other. So that's the type of like vibe I grew up around. Everybody's Spanish, or they assume you spoke Spanish.
Right.
It's just the kind of how it was, and it's really a whole nother world in itself. Like I can tell you, like when people ask you what part of Florida are you from, and you're like Miami, and they're like, yeah, but what part of Miami? They'll tell you, like usually somebody from Miami that's not specifically from Miami will say Miami, because it's easier for you to understand that they're from Miami.
Yeah.
And so if I say Hialeah, people are like, Hialeah, like what is that? Like I've never heard of that before. So it's a very rich in a lot of culture. I mean, from Spanish, Haitian, different types of Spanish dialects too. There's from the Cuban to Guatemala, Venezuela, Colombia. Look at all that. Look at it's all coming out.
There you go.
All of those different types that kind of just mingle into a lot of other different types of like ethnicities, from Israeli to from Germany, a whole mixing pot of just different people that you kind of get used to, and I love where I'm from, and I feel like so much of me from my art and from what I do comes from where I'm from. And you see me on the beach and like my little posts and things like that I'll be like shooting and stuff like that. Those are things that like you just can't, like people that live other places will work their whole lives to vacation here,
Right.
And I sometimes just sit there outside and just look at the water and just like see it, and just the nothingness, and ideas will come to my head, and I'll just start thinking about new things to kind of start working on. So I think there's a lot from comfort of life that I think goes into like where you live, and I think that South Florida has been that for me.
That's awesome.
I did move from Miami to Atlanta when I was about 24, and lived in Tampa, Florida, about 4 hours away. Totally different than Miami. Very, and I'm going to say more segregated than, and I say that in a very light, non-racist way, with the types of people grouping up and the little cliques of ethnicities.
Right. Yes.
A lot more so than South Florida is. So that was a very different living for about 5 or 6 years. And then I moved to Atlanta for about 5 years and met my current wife now, and did a lot of the stuff that I'm actually doing prior to Devious Elements was some of my main kind of jobs. And I learned a lot from living in Atlanta.
Awesome.
And then we moved back. So now I'm back in South Florida. It's been about 2 years since we lived back here, and I couldn't tell you how much I get more inspired by living here now and coming back to where I came from. And I'm just so starry-eyed all the time about the colors, the flavors, the music. You can go out to the beach at night and you'll just see a row of people dancing on the boardwalk, drinking margaritas and having the time of their lives, because they know that like maybe they're going to go back from vacation or something like that.
Right.
Or just the locals that just kind of kick it, and they're so tan red that like they know that they've been there for their whole lives.
They're the locals because of that.
That's awesome.
Heck yeah,
all right, so Tony, let me ask you, because growing up now, and it's fascinating when we looked at your bio, you do have a familial relationship connection with one of my favorite artists of all time. You are related to Jean-Michel Basquiat. Now, how is that connection there? Because that's fascinating.
Oh, and that's deep into the people don't know list too. Like, like that's something that is still first being sought out. So about 5 years ago, my grandmother passed away. She was from Brooklyn, New York. I was in Brooklyn, and with a lot of my mother's side of the family, were Puerto Rican, a dark skin, New Yorkers that, loud speaking, very eclectic people. I go to New York, I'm at a funeral, and my aunt comes up to me and says, Tony, I love the Basquiat shirt that you did. It's so awesome. And I go, oh, thanks. And this is one of my New York Titi Rosa. She Tony, I love that New York print. She's I know that Basquiat print. And I'm like, oh, thanks. And she's like, he's your cousin, right? And I go, oh, no. I didn't. I've never heard you guys say that ever, right? Taking it in passing, right? I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. Like, she's just talking to me, and they've been from New York their whole lives, lived in Brooklyn their whole lives. Huge family. They're about like 30 cousins my age. I can go to New York and just go hanging out with my cousins. Like, I have a big family. And so an hour later, my uncle Herman comes up to me and says, Tony, I want to tell you, like, that Basquiat print on your shirt, I love that, man. Love that. And I go, oh, thanks. Or like, like I'm candid camera or something like that. Like, oh, thanks, uncle. What do you,
He's getting punked.
Yeah. Right. And so he says, he's your cousin, right? And I go, DT Rosa just told me that. And I go, I've never heard that before. Now, keep in mind that the history of my family, there are no known artists that I know in my family, like growing up. Like, all my family are, creative. My mom plays the guitar. I have cousins that do other sort of artistic things, but no artists that sit down and draw and create things like that, per se, for an artist. And so I had never had the need to think about that. I've known about, Jean-Michel Basquiat for forever, like he's the godfather of graffiti. I mean, Samo, I mean, he's the guy that started it all with just kind of expressing himself,
Right.
He's the freest of the free artists. And I never asked those questions before. There would be no reason for me to ask that to her or them or bring it up or anything. So when I had done a design for it, she brought it up to my attention. Years later, when I was doing design work for my own clothing company, and this is like one of my first designs I had on the website. So I might have had, like, I don't know, 10 different designs, and that's been on there for a long time. So I said, all right, well, let's go into this further. And I let it go for a while, like 3 years went by, and I had said, you know what, I'm not even going to think about this, because it's not something that I'm not a person that wants to be, I tell you, I get complimented and I feel like throwing up and like pooping at the same time. Like, it's a weird, like, you know what I mean? Like, oh man, your art's so dope. It's so dope. And I'm just like, yeah, thanks. Thanks. Like, I don't know.
Hard to take.
I don't know what to do with that. So I'm not like, I don't want to be a thing for that. Like, you asking me about this now is because of the subtleness you read from my bio. And so, like, it's coming up now, but I don't put it out there or have put it out there in any kind of way. I think a couple years ago, I found out, and I'll go back into the story, but I find out that December 22nd is Basquiat's birthday. Correct. My wife's birthday is the same date. And so, not that I had some like weird, like, oh, the dates are like equal, or, I don't know, but it was just interesting. It's something that made me look into it more.
Right.
And so I thought, that's cool. Well, oh yeah, I remember when my aunt was talking about we're related. Let's go further into that, and let's talk about this more. And so, and I'll give you parts that I can give you, because I'm still in talks with people, but to find out more information about this. But I do know that the information is true, that I'm related to him. So my great grandmother was his mother's either cousin or half cousin by blood, but which I'm still looking into to find out directly from his sister Lizanne and some other people that I'm looking into further with ancestry and other things. But cool. This is something that, like, it is a very cool like thing about the artist relation, but more so I want to find out, like, where I'm from now. Like, I want to find out who else do I not know, like, in relation to. And so going back to finding out more, I started going deeper into that. I started finding out on Ancestry to kind of find out deeper and deeper, and I end up doing a direct link to him, and
that's crazy.
And going back to my aunt, right? I reached back to her, and she would regularly send me Basquiat stuff, right? She would, like, on a normal basis, before she even knew that I was even looking into this, she would send me. I just got one of those pop dolls, right?
Yeah,
and it's the Basquiat one. I don't know if you ever seen the Basquiat one.
Oh, they're awesome. Yeah,
dude, totally awesome. And so she'll tag me. She's not even on Instagram really. She'll tag me on Instagram showing, here's this thing that I found. My cousins in New York all the time will like message me going, "Yo, Basquiat," and I'm like, "Oh no." So like, it's kind of gotten me like on a regular basis. But even like to my family, they're not knowing or even interested beyond the point of telling me about it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
There's no need for them to. They're like, "Oh, that's super cool," and I'm like, "But that's amazing. Like that's like."
They just told you in passing, but it wasn't something they were like very passionate about, basically.
Like, what did you just say?
Oh. Yeah.
Right.
Did you
That's
sneeze,
like, well, Tony, you know what it is too. What I find so interesting about it is that you felt his influence prior to even knowing there was any kind of personal connection there. Like, you had made the print
totally,
of that image because you just admired him for his work. And then to find out that he's related, however it is that he's related, is mind-blowing on so many levels.
We had
a connection there.
I mean,
we had a moment.
We had a very
similar moment with each other.
Really?
We found out, yes, it's very, my father, who actually is not on right now, I thought he was going to be on because he would be fascinated with your whole story.
He would, yeah, absolutely.
Because he has taken our family tree on both sides as deep as you can go. Like, I'm talking deep. So one day he's talking about.
I'm totally relating to that, dude.
One day he's talking to, I forgot how it even came up. Oh, he was researching something on my mother's side.
Yeah.
Posted something on Ancestry.com or something on Facebook, and gets a response from this woman, a local woman, lives in the same area as we do, and says, "Oh, I'm a cousin of this woman who you're trying to find out about," and yada yada. And so they start talking, and he says, "Oh, I see you live here in New York." And he says, "Oh yeah, you live here in New York. That's only a couple of towns away." And she says, "Yeah, I live in this this town." She's like, I have a son who lives in Lynbrook, and that's where we teach." And so my father says, "My son teaches in Lynbrook also." And then all of a sudden she says, "Well, my son's brother-in-law teaches in Lynbrook," and that ends up being MK. And so my father's like, "Well, my son teaches art." And she says, "My son's brother-in-law teaches art." And my father says, "Is your son's brother-in-law Mike Kunz by any chance?" She's like, "Oh my God, yeah." So it turns out
we're related.
we're related by marriage, but
by marriage,
MK's brother-in-law, who's married to his younger sister, is my cousin, which is like, it was just mind-blowing.
So this is a family show.
It is. It is. And
show.
Ever since we found that out, right, Tom? We always tell the students, and they're like, I'm like, we're related. We're related.
We're related, for sure.
And then with our colleagues, we're like, this is between family only, right?
Yeah, this is family only.
They get so frustrated. This is for family only.
Yeah, you can't get involved in this. This is a family discussion.
That's just how kismet or like what serendipitous, or I don't know what the word is, but you know, like everything.
It's odd is what it is, Tony.
So okay, going back to the Basquiat thing. So I emailed. I ended up doing a lot of research on Ancestry, right? And I want to make sure I'm saying the story fully, because I don't want to just end it and then be like, people are just like, what was he saying? You know,
well, what happened?
Right. Or like, because I haven't talked about this publicly like this. I have not at all talked publicly. I have only messaged some very close friends of mine to tell me this, to tell them that. And they're like, dude, you. I'm like, bro. And I'm showing them the Ancestry, and they're like, dude, like, so beyond that, I'm just wanting to make this clear. So there's no benefit from me having any relation. There is only my family right now vouching to say that this is what's happened. I've spoken to the sister, which she's also looked into her family to find out if there was truth to what I was saying. there was 100% truth to what I was saying. And so she was able to start a dialogue with me currently, which I'm very grateful to. So she's listening and she listens to this, and I'm very grateful for her responding to me. And she just has no idea how much it meant to start a dialogue with me. But I messaged her incessantly the same message, a long message of I never do this, and I'm sorry, and this. I told the whole story that I said to you and everything, and I just wanted to come out like this. And I go, look, I'm not this person that sends these types of emails to people. I have
and you're not looking for anything from them. It's not like you're looking for anything.
You just want info. You just want to know info.
Exactly. And I'm like, if anything, I just want to just find out if there's truth in it. And if there is, then I want to research it more. I want to find out deeper than that. And then, I don't want to be like, yo, man, this is me now, man. And I just start, dreadlocking out my hair and start looking at him, man, no. Right. So I messaged her like maybe more than 6 times on different platforms, right? Like the same message over and over and over. And I know I annoyed the hell out of her. But at some point she actually read my message and messaged me back, annoyed. And I won't go too deep. I don't want to be so personal into this, because if it's too personal from what our conversation was, her and I. But basically, I got her to write back, and she looked into it after that. And then I was happy that I bothered the hell out of her, because I knew that all I needed for her to do was just look, I know that people do this to her on a regular basis. Hey, I'm this person. And when she spoke to me, she called me back, and I'm very appreciative. She called me back before the pandemic started, and we had a full an hour conversation, and we talked about different things. And I let her know that it was a big inspiration to me, like her brother. And that I don't even know if it's true or not, but I want her to look into it, and there's nothing I'm looking for. And she did. She looked into it, and it was a good start. We had another conversation. I follow her on Instagram. She follows me on Instagram, and
that's awesome.
And we're regularly messaging each other. And I'm keeping on that to try to figure out more. And so it's an open dialogue. But I want, since you asked, and I'm gonna answer the question. So it's an ongoing thing, but it is a true statement. Yes.
That's awesome.
That's very awesome. Cool. All right. So we have you growing up in South Florida for the most part. So Tony, tell us and tell our kids who are listening, when's that aha moment for you where you think for sure that a creative lifestyle is something you want to pursue? Because we know you've been through a lot of different things. You've gone through, right. And we don't have to get to every, because that's what kept us on for 2 hours in the pre-check. This guy's got stories on top of stories on top of stories, and they're all awesome, and you don't want to cut them off on any of them. And so we know that you've gone through, working with automobiles. You've gone through, being a graphic designer. But when is the actual point in your life where you say, you know what, I got to do this. This is part of who I am. I got to make this my lifestyle. When does that hit you?
Oh man, I'll tell you a quick story, and then I'll say what happened 15 years later. So as a 9-year-old, 10-year-old kid, my uncle was a screen printer. He lived in Miami, and he inspired me to draw some things out. I was a very artsy little kid, and I drew out a lot of things. I would draw Looney Tunes on my wall in my bedroom, and kind of draw them out to scale and things. And at some point he told me, hey, draw out some stuff that you want, and then I'll make it for you, And I was like, I was a little kid, I was like, okay, and I sat for 2 weeks, I think, drawing out little schematics of little spiral notebook of just pictures of it was, at the time, it was Puerto Rican themed stuff. I'm Puerto Rican, and so it was little coqui frogs from Puerto Rico, and different designs with flags and things. I drew them all out with the little shirt, drew out little arms and things, and what it's gonna look like and things. I was 9 years old, right? And at some point, he never made it, right? I sent it to him. He moved to Hawaii or something. It was very hard to get in contact with him. He never made it. I was very disappointed, right? Never thought about that after that for, I was speaking about how I did, I was in the jazz band and I did music. not thought about that since I was in high school, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th grade. Didn't think about it until I left Miami, moved to Tampa, and was working for the Auto Trader magazine, which I have examples here, by the way.
See, look at that.
Very nice.
Yeah, MK's got it all ready to pull up, by the way. He can pull all that.
Run that slide, MK.
It's already up.
After Auto Trader, working as a photographer, graphic designer, I started thinking about my photography, and I had a lot of model photography that I wanted to put onto clothing. And at the time, I was living in Atlanta, and my wife and I were living there. There was all these, little cold fronts and things that we had to kind of be in the house for. You don't really go out to take pictures like on the beach because there's no beach and it's cold, It's not South Florida, so you hang out inside a lot. So you buy a lot of stuff from like clothing companies, right? I was buying T-shirts that had like model pictures on them and on a regular basis. And I was fully into shooting with fashion photography and things like that at the time. And I was buying things and thinking, why don't I just put my stuff on clothing? And I was like, maybe I can start printing some clothes. And that was the first time I thought. And at the time I was working at an agency, One Create, and I was working with Walmart as one of the clients I was working with. And I was really heavy into like agency work and like corporate, that type of, you see on TV that they have the big, big fluffy chairs you lay on, and you can bring your dog into the office, a big company that I work for. And I was killing myself. Like I was working, Walmart was, and I have examples of that too, guys. And Walmart as a client, now at the time I was doing creative direction. I wasn't doing any photography for this agency. I came in wanting to do photography. I did not do any photography at all. I wanted to be a studio photographer, but did not end up that way. Well, that was the dream, at least at the moment, getting into it. I started doing design, creative design, from concept work to, people don't really know this, but as an example, everything you see on this page, and you probably got this in the mail to your house at whatever day this was, it's just the same thing as the toy books that they used to have.
Yeah.
Everything you see in this book was either drawn out first into pencils or mocked up with like clips from other pictures to make it look the way that it needs to look.
Right.
Yeah.
And so whether you're clipping T-shirt images out, you're going to use that for your design concepts. Right. And you're going to present Walmart with a final mocked up book that has a couple different versions of it with 5 different covers of different versions of this. You even had to have the person mocked up to stand this way on the cover to make space. So at the point that we had this ready for Walmart to look at, this would almost be an all pencil, right? Like somebody drew it out in pencils.
And all before everything was done.
Everything. And this would be the concepts for that. So I would give direction for how the photo would look. I would find my go-bys that would go into all these spaces. I would do concepts for bigger projects like this book. And I think this was my concept at first from the original book that ended up doing hundreds of changes for Walmart. Not even going into that, but things like these runners that you would get,
the flyers and stuff.
Yeah. And the front of Walmart, you'd pick this up and you wouldn't think anything of it, but there was somebody that had a picture of a hamburger that put it into this box before the picture was taken to make the hamburger fit the best way with a price tag on there so that they could take a picture of that hamburger to fit in that box.
Right.
So everything that's on here, even down to the fruit, I mean to the vegetables, we would have to direct the studio to shoot. We'd have to do full write-ups of put the hamburger and have the glistening bun like you would have on that nice McDonald's type hamburger, because Walmart likes their shiny burger tops.
That's
right. So we would do full books with full deadlines of we had tremendous
How far are you working ahead on something like that?
3 months to 4 months ahead of time.
Yeah, 3.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty standard in industry wise too.
I was just going to say, because MK teaches graphic design.
Yeah,
so
we talk
these
about
are things, that. Right. I was going to say, MK, you want to throw in on that?
Yeah, no, and that's something that I always tell them. One, about the planning. We always start our design process through sketches too. Right. But like I always say, nothing in graphic design happens by, I mean, I'm sure some things do, but nothing happens by accident. You know what I mean? There's, right. Whether it's the simplest idea or the most complicated idea, there's always some type of intense planning that's happening. And when we do magazines, especially, we always talk about how like stuff for December usually comes out in November, and the fact that all the planning happens months before. Back, I used to do floral design. We did photo shoot for House Beautiful magazine, and it was a Christmas edition. And we shot it in June at an apartment in the city. We had to find a Christmas tree in the middle. We had to find a Christmas tree in June, which was not an easy thing to do.
And it was probably plastic, I'm sure.
No, it's actually, you found a real tree. I think must have cut it down in somebody's backyard or something. but we made it work. But yeah, I always tell them it's so much planning that goes, especially into stuff like that.
Everything has intention. Everything has has something to fit onto. Like I remember one of the biggest things. Okay, give an example of this page. I mean, and you know too. I mean, so having the kid, right, and everything that fit around the kid had to be like they told us put 10 stacks, and we want every piece of this gene to be shown, right? They wanted amazing. All these colors need to be shown of that shirt, right? So you had to find a way to cohesively use the space you have given.
Right.
And
well, that's something that I always say that to them too. Like if we think about these, especially these types of ads, right? They're not like groundbreaking as far as graphic design. But I always tell them these are like one of the most challenging things to design, because there's so many elements that go into it. There's so many visuals. You have to think about, where your text is going to fall. So it doesn't, like, your text doesn't read with one product when it should be actually for another product. Right. There's so much involved. And I loved hearing that from you. Like,
it's interesting. What it makes me think, MK, about our previous episode with Barbara Earl Thomas about being a problem solver. It doesn't matter what part of the industry you are in creatively. It all comes down to being a problem solver and being able to figure out. Yeah. It whether you're painting, a fine art painter, or you are a graphic designer or an art director or a layout director, there, and it even going back further to episode 8 with Say Adams, where he talked about being the director, the head designer for Def Jam Records. And I watched all these episodes
too, and I know you're talking about. I'm like, I gotta do more too, because I'd be like, what? I remember. It was very organized.
Yes, and Say would tell us that his job was about putting out fires.
Yeah.
His job all day was problem solving and putting out fires.
Like, what artists do you know? What artists do you know? And I'm sorry to interrupt. That can't take something and figure it out and like go, there's a hole in that wall. We need to put this box to that wall and then make it look pretty, and then go figure it out. And then they're just just Minority Report is happening, and they're just like, doing all that, and that's what they have to figure. The other day, I not to get off subject, but the other day, one of the things I was doing was I was shooting laydowns on just a nice Silo background, black seamless background. I'm talking all like, I'm trying to be as like industry as I can right now. and I was shooting some new products for Pixel Poncho that I have coming out. It's a black monogram shirt.
Let me stop you right there, Tony. Before you continue, MK, can we pull up the Deviant site? Yeah. Let's let people see exactly what Tony is all about on this site. I mean, because it is immense. Like, we look at it, and Tony, you have so many things going on through this website. I want to
be Amazon, man. I want to be Amazon, not, a mom and pop. I want to, like, if Amazon could be that big and you don't get so flustered that you believe it, then I could be that big,
Right. So walk us through how you work through this business. Like, this is your business. This is what we have. So many kids. Let me segue by saying we have so many kids who are into custom sneaker design, or want to make t-shirts, or want to screen print, or want to start a line.
The shoes.
Yeah. And all of this stuff. Like,
it's very big right now. Yeah.
Yeah. Tony, how do you manage all of this?
First, I never ever sleep, right? I've slept actually 3 times since I've been no, so from the beginning to end, I always have to think about a process and how do I get from one point to the end of the other point, right? So how do I figure out how to get this on the website into a cohesive product for somebody to purchase? So I think about from the beginning of what I've done on the website is try to have first a variety of different things that you can display. Like the more content, the better, for me at least. I want to create lots of different things to have choices, because people want choices nowadays, whether they don't think they want it or not. They want to see different things. And an example, again, Amazon, for a perfect example, biggest companies out there, and you're not going to leave Amazon because it's so big. So I look at something and say, how do I take this company wants to be able to put this bottle on a t-shirt and go, all right, how do we get this bottle on a t-shirt, and then figure out how to put it on the website, figure out how to do a whole listing, do a photo shoot of that shirt, find the models, and then take that design and then flush that out and merchandise it to a whole collection of different things that are going to be able to kind of have a little trickle down of other products that we can kind of subsell, and also have a collection have a full collection of because I don't just want to make, like when I work with an artist, I don't just make one product. Like I tell them, I want to make a collection, like a whole series. I don't just want to go, here's this one design that they made, because that's so half-assed of just doing one design and going, boom, it's done. I want to take that one design and I want to flush it out into like a brand,
Right.
Take one thing. Go ahead.
That's what I love about what you're doing, Tony, is because, as I know for myself, and I know MK thinks this way too, we're both practicing artists with studio practices, aside from being full-time teachers, but we both work in series. Like that's our whole, right, MK? I know with the sign series that you're working on in pastel, like we're never satisfied with what you would consider a one-off. We have to continue that series, and that's what I love about everything you do with Devious Elements. Is not just one and done, and it goes for for those of you who don't know Devious Elements, Tony works with a myriad of different artists, and I want to get to, eventually we're going to get to the beauty of what collaborating does for you specifically. But the fact that it's never, no matter the artist that he's working with, and even his own stuff, because he does have his own stuff on that site too, it's never a one and done. There's always a whole host of different things, and it's not just
you got to man. Like it's just so, like, you do a cool drawing and that's great, but like, there's something that goes from somebody just doing a cool drawing that doesn't have any color to it, that doesn't have any outline to it, or anything that has any shading or anything but an outline that you would do for like a screen print, a basic, two-tone, or just one cutout stencil type thing. Something basically like that. You look at something and go, all right, cool. Like we could put that on a t-shirt and great, we could do that. But now that artist could take 2 more days and flesh out color to it and do a whole, a couple different elements to that design that would then be used for elements on a collection, right? So as an example, I have my Loyalty brand, which is one of my favorite brands, and one of my most popular brands. A lot of people kind of relate to it. It's very simple, but it's a very direct, loyal. You're staying loyal to just whatever you want to put that to. That's kind of the brand. So you would take the word loyalty, and the main logo is the cursive brand that you see on the top going down that you're passing right now. That is the main logo that I have. But then I say, okay, I have the hat first, and we'll do the hat. The hat looks great, and somebody goes, oh, okay, let's just do the hat and do it in a couple different colors, and then end it right there. Do it with the t-shirt. But all right, let's take that same design and then put that as a brander, and to brand everything that's on this, like Nike would do, and put it somewhere on the t-shirt somewhere. So Nike, you would see, would never have their logo. Like they would always have a Nike check somewhere, or somewhere to say that this is a Nike brand something.
Absolutely.
And so this is what you have to think about. You think about this one little logo. You're going to say, all right, how do I take this and use this and to flush it out to a full brand? All right. So I take that logo and I add it to the design, whether it's in the actual design or not. I try to at least put it on the product. So on the sides of the hats, I would have the Loyalty logo if it wasn't on the front of the hat as it is. If I change the way the loyalty word looks, I still want to have my loyalty logo on the hat because it's still Nike. It's still that brand. So I still try to keep the association with this brand with that first logo of the cursive logo. And so when I do the hats, you'll see like in the friendship hats, those are something that kind of goes around the whole loyal. Actually, it's one of the ideas I had from watching the show Big Brother. There was one of these guys that was on the show that he used to be like friendship, and he used to like give hugs to people and like, and I'd be like, oh, that would be awesome for like a hat, you know, like friendship. And I go to my friends, and so like then I put, you know what, I'll do the friendship design, but I'll throw the loyalty logo in there somewhere with it to brand it. And so without it, it's just the word friendship with no association with anything. And so you always are thinking about how do I tie this in to bring it back to my brand, whether it be on the brand logo, whether it be on the, you know, somewhere on the shirt, small, but somehow
on the tag even.
Right, on the tag, you know, going back to Pixel Poncho, on his labels, you have, it says, we are all immigrants. And so that's awesome. Kind of his brand. It's very organic. It's all like robots and like organic things that have grown over, you know, mechanical things. Which I'd love to show you a couple pieces that I
go right ahead.
That'd be great.
This is pre anything, right? This is a major international artist, Pixel Poncho.
He is.
He's awesome, cool guy. He's a funny guy. He's a very animated. I even told him I was going to be on here today. He's going to try to stop by and check it out. But this is one of the.
That's great.
The windbreaker hoodies that
and it's got his signature character on it.
So this is his design. This floral with the mechanical is his design, and then I in collaboration with him take it and then flush it out into a product. I placed the logo on the hat, on the hoodie part. Like I branded that way so that when you have it on, you got the logo right there. Like if you take a picture with it, you got the logo right there. You know, like it's just always there. Like, you know, so like that's how you always have to think. And then also aesthetically, how is it going to lay on the product? So this design, it's in 5 different pieces on the product, right? So not only do I have the logo back here, because when you have it on, you can't see it from behind, right?
Exactly.
So, but in the back, this is one piece, right? One design. The arms are one design that are strategically placed to be in, and not only to look like it's growing up under you, but to have it in a way that there's mostly black on the top part, so you still have the color block, you know, you still have that color separation. And then also even the little grass, you know, things on the top. I put every piece of that on top of the hoodie to make sure that you would have still a little bit of that finishing, you know, like so when people are just like, I'll just throw it on the shirt, I'm like, that's not how
it works.
No.
MK, this is a crash course in graphic design 101 for these kids.
Branding.
And but again, it goes to how much thought process goes into. Tony, we have kids, you know, and because they're teenagers, they think that the first creation they make is the one. Boom, that's it. That's all I want to do. And MK, it's like, let's see, there's the patch. Yep, there's the tag.
You get the little glare from the thing, but you know.
No, we could see that.
Yeah,
that's and great. Even it's gold to go off of the gold of the mechanical.
Of course,
so it's not like you know how many colors I went through to figure out what was best. Whether a black one was good, but I didn't want it to sit black on the black.
But you don't know unless you try too.
Right, I want it to look like a gold logo, so have more of that gold label feel, so people have a more expensive feel to it.
Right,
exactly.
And so like there's all this thought that goes into, like, I could have done white on the logo instead of black, but I did black to make a nice contrast, you know.
Right. And so Tony, let me ask you.
Love it.
When you're thinking all of this through, how many versions do you quote unquote mock up before you zero in on the one that gets produced? Because for our kids, like I was gonna say, our kids, especially in like a graphic design class,
look at that.
They want the first thing they do to be it.
Right.
How many variations do you go through until you're satisfied with that product?
From start to end, I'd say, so like this, right? So this design, I would flush out with the screws and the mechanics. I would do, let's say, for me to be okay with at the level I'm at now and how much time I don't want to waste, I'll do 3 different versions of it, right? And I won't just do a version that's like very similar to the other one. I'll try to do 3 very different versions of it. What I would do is look at this. I would think, all right, there's one design for a boot. I would think I'm going to do one, and this is probably the 3rd version of the variant that I came up with that we went with.
Right.
But I would do one with an entirely covered everything in this same print pattern, so you wouldn't see a break. You know, you would just go through even with the Pixel Poncho logo. Here, let me. Even down to the logo on the tongue, I think. I'll put the logo on the tongue only because the logo that's inside the shoe has the Pixel Poncho words on it with the "We are all immigrants" verbiage. And so I don't have the alien in the inside of the boot. And so there's the mix. I don't need one on the outside, one on the inside, or the words on the outside as well. So what I'll do is not only will I go through different versions for the logos, because I have a full different robot guy coming off and cropped out in the Dutch to the side, you know, or just a plain black and white one. Went with the gold on black to have a separation from the background, and then have the gold from the change. But the second version of the boot that we would do would be something of a coming down, or actually coming up from the front. So the green would start here, and then it would be black here
at the top. Right.
And so I thought that it just didn't give it the full. And keep in mind that all the 3 versions, him and I go back and forth and look at and see which one's best. Sometimes it's just like, boom, that's it. Or sometimes I'll be like, you know, let's do different things. I'll try to give a variant of things that might be a good, you know, control group also, you know, and just to kind of have something in there also that might be a little different, even if I don't like it. You know, but I still like it, but like in a way that like it might not be my top choice.
Tony, let me. I don't mean to cut you off, but let me ask you, because that segues perfect into what I want to ask you next. When you're collaborating with these artists, many of which are huge names like Pixel Poncho, how do you mitigate any hurt feelings or egos or any, like, how do you convince these artists that your vision is gonna work for them? How do you do that?
I first have to do like what you guys do first. You have to get a call first, meet with them. If I hadn't met with them before I even start with working with somebody, I have to like have a phone call with them. During pandemic, I can't meet with them for the majority. So I'll call with them and talk to them and make friends, you know, like,
and let's go from there. Level?
Right. And so like for a lot of the artists that I deal with, or just in general, the people that I meet, it'll just be in passing. So like I'll be out in the street, I'll meet them. They'll approach me and say, hey, let's do something together. And I'll be like, hell yeah. You know, like I don't tend to be the one that like asks more now. So to me, I think that it's a little tacky for me to do that. You know, it's just personal for like, it's like when a woman knows you're running game on her, she don't, like when you're running game on a woman, she don't know you're running game on her. Like, hey, what's up, girl? Like you not, and I'm not saying that you're running game on somebody like the artist as the girl. I just see how that can sound. But what I mean by that is like, you're not trying to sell somebody. Like you're trying to just meet them and see who they are first, because the same way that I'm, let's say, trying to work with them, they're seeing how I am. Like they're getting to know me a little bit. They're seeing that other people know me, because when I meet people out in the street, they'll see other artists and be like, yo, Tony, like word of mouth and like stuff like that. Like it really does run a mile, I think, for artists that are in a world full of like hot air that they get blown up there. You know, as a lot. So when I can be honest with them and be direct with them and also be able to kick it so I can like chill, like I think it's not like something that I have on a list to like do to meet an artist. It's like not like I have, oh, let me do this first and do this. I just kind of organically try to make friends with people, and then it kind of just happens. And then and then we have a relationship already that kind of turns into that, you know, and without it being like, dude, I want to work with you. Because when I first started doing this, like I would put myself in places that would give me good opportunity to meet artists, and I would meet a lot of different artists. But I think that I was trying a lot harder before because I felt like I had to, like, I need to get these certain artists, and I need to try to meet with this guy, and I need to meet with Shepard Fairey, and like try to be like get him to do a T-shirt or something. A lot of people try to do that, and then they try to think that they're just going to get one thing with somebody and they're going to blow up like that. And I wanted to build a company that like was more friends than like, you know, coworkers, you know, and like
it's more of a lasting relationship.
It doesn't have that corporate feeling either. It has that organic, authentic, homegrown feeling. I think that that's an important thing, Tony, for our kids to understand, is that because a lot of our kids just want to make a buck to make the buck. Like they see all these social media influencers and think like my biggest example is the Kardashians. Like, what do they do all day? And these kids want to be them so bad, but for what? What are they contributing? They're not really contributing anything. Whereas you're telling us that the important part of your quote unquote business is the relationship.
It is because the business, the relationship part, all the artists that I work with all got messages from me to say like, hey, happy Thanksgiving, you guys inspire me, you know, I appreciate you guys. And they all message back saying, hey man, we love you, you know, like we miss you guys, like hope to see you guys soon after all this. Like there's like intention to like, some of them, I think the last time I saw one of the artists that I worked with, Lisa Diakova, I think one of the last time I saw her, it was like we were in a bounce house in a big Kanye West head that like some artist blew up, and it was literally a Kanye West blow up head, and it's us, and it has Lisa Diakova, and it's just us before we jump into this like this big bouncy head, and just us. It's supposed to be his ego in there jumping there. That was the intention of the artist.
That's funny.
The artist is named Cool Shit. That's the name of the artist that blows up. That's these awesome. Like so you know, being able to like meet up with friends like that, and I could call my friends and then go, hey, I have some new stuff I want to work on, I'm going to send it to you. Then I'd be like, all right, cool. Like as the passing conversation, then it's not me talking about work and trying to sell them on things. Like they know that like if they get, so one of the things I provide to the artists that I deal with is exclusive pricing for wholesaling, right? So I give them a full-on graphic designed, you know, infographic PDF with a breakdown of the things that I provide for them, the services, the different shirts that I can print, and I provide that to them so that they can see what I can print for them to say, hey, like, hey, what can you do? And I'd be like, boom, here's my list, here's the things. I have a visual for everybody. It's a pretty color, branded matching on the bottom of like the page folios, you know, like there's a whole, I learned that from doing the
Walmart,
the graphic design from Walmart, Auto Trader, doing books that I can flush out a full project and go, I'm done, send it to the artist. I could even do hyperlinks to link to the different materials. And then they tell me, boom, I want to order something this month and order some samples, or I got 20 shirts to order for my friends. They order it directly through me at wholesale at a really good price. But this is something I provide like almost at cost price for directly for the artists I collaborate with. And so that's something that comes with like out of question, so that they know that I'm not profiting off of them. Like I'm not trying to get, like, yes, we are trying to make money together, but I don't need to make $20 off of a single T-shirt to try to sell it to you. Like to try to just have them, right. So I try to give them the open window to try to say, I'll provide you with the resources that I have, mock-ups. You know, we're going back to like, do I shoot everything on my website? No, because there's just no way for me as a photographer to just shoot everything. There's just no way. And so I do a lot of mock-ups. There's a website that I use, and I'm not going to say because it's just this industry stuff, but there's a full website that basically gives you and I'll tell you right now. Okay, so go to my Instagram page. I'll show you which one's not a real photo that I took. All right, so the picture I posted today with the two people, that's not real. I didn't take that picture. All right, that's a mock-up. I was able to drop it into a mock-up generator that would put the color of the shirt differently and make the colors that I need for the colors, for the matching colors. And I put the design.
That's a stock photo, basically?
It's a model photo specifically for mock-ups. So
for mock-up, okay.
Right. So the company I deal with, it's literally a drag and drop. I drop it right into the when you see the thumbnail of the photo, you'll see white shirts on everybody.
Yes, yeah, exactly. I know what you mean. Yeah.
Right. So I'll change that. So the
same
picture,
thing with this.
Same thing with that. Now, see, now your eyes the wool's going to be pulled from your eyes now.
Now I see it. I already see it. I already
see it. So this is what when I going back to like me also being a businessman is that this is a clothing brand that I want to be able to have all these new designs and all this cool stuff, but also I want to be able to add volume to my store and I have to do that to scale in a way that I can't do everything myself. So I have to think about ways to get bigger without doing everything on. I can't take pictures of everything.
No, smart business.
Since I am a photographer, that people know I do photography, that they just assume that if they see a nice photo that I took it, which is it's in addition to the photos of that I actually take. So going down the picture with the girl. The picture with the girl with the hoodie on that she's laughing. That's my photo. I took that picture. That's my friend Josephine Phoenix. The pictures of the boots. I took that picture the other day. It was on my Instagram feed. The food is not mine. It's Dennis Prescott. He's in Canada. I piggyback off of his stuff, which he's a super cool guy. So I try to see the hat, the wee hat. That's my photography. There's certain things I just can't do mock-ups for.
This bag is not yours, or is not
no that bag is mine. I took that picture in Hollywood Beach.
Okay.
That's actually my usual spot in Hollywood Beach. But I have to do a mix between mock-ups. I think like about 60-40. I can add those together with my own real content to be able to kind of have a cohesive page. Now this is only because I'm my own person.
You're thinking about, I mean, the site that you use, obviously they have different models, different styles, different looks. And everything. Like it is cohesive when you do look at it, the decisions that you're making on, the types of people that you're dropping the imagery on and the poses.
All of that.
It is seamless. I mean, that's being good at social media, obviously, and a good designer.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's exactly
it's your brand. It's not like you're not going to put your clothing on a different image.
This is going back to the Walmart stuff. I mean, I used to have to pick out the ethnicities of model list sheets from modeling agencies and go no and go no. We can't have an Asian person on the computer shot. Like there was a lot of things that like I had to keep in mind to make that decision. So like everything was put into we had to have somebody that was mixed and somebody that looked like androgynously mixed. So like it makes sense to what you needed to look like. Every market also had a different version. The Hawaii version only had Polynesian people on the cover.
Wow.
So like, if you never knew,
but the photo and the poses were the same. Yeah.
Right. Wow. So like they fit the page. Like
Tony, what's so interesting though? It's like if you think back to your time with Walmart, right? Everything is so planned out. Like you're planning out the poses, you're planning out where the text is going to go, the type of burger that you want it. But with the Devious elements, right? And you're collaborating with these artists, it's almost the opposite where they're giving you the art and now you have to try to fit it onto a shoe and a backpack. Right. It's not art that's made. It's not art that's made for a backpack, or it's different than that. If you were a shoe designer, you're designing the graphics for the shoe.
For that shoe, right.
You're doing the opposite. Exactly. You're taking that square peg and fitting it in a round hole.
And that's what I had to switch from when I had to for Auto Trader magazines. I was given the content, right? Like they gave me everything. I got the verbiage, like I got all the content to drop into my layout. I got I got all the photography, and if I didn't get enough photos, then I'd be like, the photographer needs to send me better photos, and I need more photos. Like if I needed to go take more pictures, I would go do that, and I could do that, and then I would put it all together.
Like somewhere in between the two, basically.
Right. So like I think that like by my experience, I think that every single thing I've done in any type of creative field, right? I even put on one of my notes that I sent you guys for like one of my links that my resume didn't include like all my sales jobs that I had before. And all the I was an admissions advisor to Catholic University. Like I was on a phone like all day long, throwing a ball around with my buddies, just like enrolling people like into a call. Like and that got me the etiquette to be able to speak on the phone and call people and handle my own business, you know, like calling somebody and going, hi, can I handle all of my customer service. Like if you ordered something and let's say you get a pair of shoes and it's like broken and you reach out to somebody, who do you think that's going to be? That's not even me. And they're going to reach out to on my account something, and I'm going to respond back to them. How can I help you out? Let me respond to you. I'll directly work with them. Not only does that help me to maintain customers, but I want to make sure that every single thing is correct and handle it in a way that like it's from the start to the end. I don't just like don't know what happened, you know, like I know what's going into every single thing. So going back to Walmart, it had, and to basically all my other jobs that I had before, and not to get off track, but it definitely showed me how to start something, have a middle ground with something, and then finish it off, and then also market that to okay, now it's done. Now what do we do with it? You know, and how do we put things out there in a way that we can then lay it out and brand it, and then how's the style guide going to look for the color schemes that we're going to use for the brand, and then you know there's so many things that I learned from being in so many different industries that, you know, I was meant to do what I'm doing now. Like, you know, you tell me like when we're going back to like this, we're going full circle now. Okay. You asked me about like, when did I know? I honestly, like a couple years ago, like I quit my job. I was trying to leave the agency work in Atlanta, and I was at my last wit's end for working so much that I was flying to Arkansas, going to Walmart like facilities, and I was meeting with the Walmart people, sitting in board meetings, and you know, having the crappy lunch and using the key card to go into every door. Walmart's like a labyrinth of millions of places in there, and I was traveling. It was great to like do it all, and I was used to that from Auto Trader since I used to travel for the car shows, and it was more leisure. But this was becoming, I was burning myself out, and I felt myself hating like what I did, and at some point, and I couldn't do it without my wife. Thanks, my wife. She's LG Style 4. That I had that choice to be able to do that. I was making a really good money in Atlanta, and we decided after a really bad cold apocalypse. I don't know if you ever heard of that, the snow apocalypse that happened a couple years back in Atlanta, and everything froze over. Right, I was there for that, and it was the worst experience of my life being from South Florida. Right?
Yeah, I can imagine.
I mean, for a half an hour drive, it took me 11 hours to drive home. Riding the brake on it looked like a cartoon version of Ice Capades, dude. It was such a bad experience. So after that, I was just like, I white knuckled all the way like home. Like it was terrible. And I was there working with Walmart like 5 o'clock. They held us there for that long, and I was like, they should have let us out at 12. And so I thought, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore with this company. And we made the decision to say, you know what, we could do this full time, and we're going to go and figure it out in South Florida. My family lived in South Florida again. And so it was just going back home and making that move again and going somewhere warmer. And I had a lot more inspiration, a lot more connections here. I kind of just started up like very quickly. And so when I moved back here, it was full on like, this is what I'm doing. You know, I'm not trying to find another job. This is what I'm doing now. And trying to do that from, I say every year that goes by, not only do my sales increase, does my traffic, does just the range of like what the brand does. And I thank God for what it has done, and what people like you guys that are just keeping it going, you know, that have like made it this way, that it's such a journey to like get to this point. But I told myself, you know what, I'm just going to do it. And even old bosses in my old job at One Create, they were like, you know, why would you leave? I was at a position that I could even tell them, like, even if you gave me $30,000 more money right now, I would not stay here right now. I am not staying in this, and I can't do this anymore. And that power to just do that was amazing. Like that release of just going, and knock the pencils over and be like, I'm done with this place. And I love that place for the people that I work with, but there was just no end. There was no end, and they loved me doing they knew that I could do all the end stuff. And I'm not bashing like company. It's not a lot of company that there's a company that showed me a lot. It's just the nature of that type of work. Agency work is hard. At some point, I think around that time, I think that I thought about back when I was 9 and I was doing those schematics for my uncle, and I was like, it all kind of like clicked. It went, I've wanted to do this. I just didn't even know I wanted to do this type of thing.
It was just a circuitous route to get there. That's all that, it took you some time.
Full like circle, man. Like it's like, it's amazing that like I thought back, and now everything I know how to do now applies to what I'm doing now. Like even me yelling on a job site for, yelling at not yelling, but like having to take charge of 100 people. And I used to do graduation photos, and I'd be the guy for what is it called? George Knight, Knight. I forget what it was called. Olin Mills type photos for high school graduations and things like that. Right. And I'd be the guy that did the hard photos. I'd go around doing all the candids, and I had experience. And I go around, I'd be the one taking the picture on the stage of the person holding, the diploma doing the shake, right? You have to do that, thing, and then you have to get a picture of it, right? You go like that, and you take the picture. 1,000 times you got to do that if you're that person. And you literally just stand there, click, click, click. Now imagine if your flash died in front of thousands of people waiting for you to move while they just stand there like mannequins waiting for you going, and you're just like, like that really puts you through the ringer to be able to say, man, like under pressure, I know how to handle my camera. I know how to do what I'm doing, and that I can use that pressure to go, all right, let's do this.
MK, I think that's a fantastic message for our kids to hear, is that he's persistent, but he's also taking his other experiences and applying them to where he is now. And I think for our kids, I always tell the kids that as an artist myself, I learn more from my mistakes than my success.
I almost want to fail sometimes.
Right. It pushes you.
Yeah. I mean, or at least they one of the things that they told me before I left, one of my managers, she told me, and I was asking her, I need to transfer from this place. And she's like, but what if you, like, they didn't know if they had a job for me at the office here. And I was like, she goes, what if you fail? What if you can't get a job? And I go, well, at least I tried. At least I went and did it. I can't like say that I did it if I just never did it. And I think a lot of artists, they think that like, when I say I go on the street and I just go like during Art Basel time, right? This time of year, first week of December, they have one of the biggest festivals of the year here for art. And tons of artists come from around the world. In Wynwood, Miami. You could even bring that up. That would be awesome for you to see Wynwood, Miami. Artists everywhere. I mean, the first couple of days is all the locals there. There's all the artists on the street just kicking it, painting, and you meet so many different people. And I literally go there, just get dropped off by an Uber. I know I'm going to be there till whenever time, and I got my cart that you bring to the beach with you. I got my beer and I got like my camera, my equipment, and I come prepared for the day. You know what I'm saying? I even got my little snacks, just in case, because you gotta load up. You gotta snack packs. And my friends are like, I haven't eaten anything. I'm like, dude, snack pack. They're like, oh my gosh. So like, you go there and then you just go, like, where are you gonna go? Well, just drop me off in a general area and then I'll figure it out. But a lot of people tell me, man, I see you during Art Basel in Wynwood. Like, how do you go and do all that with people and do all this stuff? And I go, just show up, go. Like they're not going to stop you. Yeah, like artists are there. And if you just start talking to them, they're going to go talk to you. And then they're going to go, hey, what's your name? I'm this person. Cool. Yo, I love your art. Maybe they'll start talking more to you. Like,
that's how this started. Same thing, right, Tom?
Yeah, that's exactly how it started. But I think that, Tony, it's important that our kids hear that it's about taking that chance. It's about taking that first step. It's about taking that leap and saying.
I also think, it's about taking that leap, but it's also about making sure that you, and this goes back to what we talked about with Barbara Earl Thomas, about making sure that you have your skills before, you know what I mean? Like your skill set can't be bigger than your capabilities, basically. Right. Or
Your thought process can't be bigger than your skill set. You can't go above you can't go above and beyond. It's not like
you didn't do this, you did it at the right time in your life. You had that skill set. You had those experiences.
It was built up.
Yes.
And also that I did have to do a certain amount of winging it, and like I did have to like problem solvers. You problem solve. You figure out, all right, I have to do this thing. I know they don't know that I don't know how to do this thing, and so I'm gonna either Google it real quick and learn how to do this thing, and and then just go with it. But you have to be like, let's go. What are you doing? Like you're burning daylight. Like, you know what I'm saying?
We talked to Miguel Martinez was like that, right? With
Miggy's like that too, very much. Yes, he told somebody, I know how to do that, and he didn't know how to do that. He had a month to figure it out. He didn't know how to do a music video. He figured out how to do a music video. He figured out how to do it. It's I remember but that's the chance you take.
I mean, I think in every job. How many I'm not condoning lying on your resume or anything, but how many words can you type a minute? I'm sure like somebody's gonna have a little bit more per mileage on there, So
exactly,
you know what I'm saying? So I mean, you got to figure it out. But that's just what you did back then, and like when you're starting off, and you got to like have. I remember I had on my resume I worked at a clothing store. There was my friend that sold T-shirts like when I was like 16, and it was like, I worked at a clothing store and I have a sales experience, and you didn't have any experience. It's just you figured it all out, and then you just deal with it. So I think that there's a lot of things. I think not knowing that if you're going to win, I think that trying to figure out things and trying to work through things, knowing that you could fail, and if you do fail, then you take that as something good. Like I break my toe, and I'm going to say, you know what, I'm going to learn how to walk with a limp like this, and I'm going to work around this, and something might come out of this broken toe 20 years from now. Who knows what happens? Like what trajectory that put me into, to do that. There's an artist a photographer that I know named Zach Arias. He's an amazing photographer. He's a very inspirational photographer. Became a friend of mine. Actually, he's the one that took the photo that I have on my profile with me smoking the cigar. He took that photo. He's also another inspiration to me, but I ended up meeting him just while I was doing a gig out in like a restaurant. I used to do these like fundraiser events at these really nice hotels downtown. I'd be the photographer, like with the backdrop and the step and repeat, they call them, for the background with all the logos on them. You take a picture with the people, and I'd be there. And I remember I had my light set up, and he just, before the whole thing started, he came over and he was like, he goes, "Oh man, I love your lights. Those are Einstein lights, right?" Because I use Einstein Paul C. Buff lights, and those are pretty standard in the industry. And I go, "Yeah, man." I go, "Oh, dude, you're Zach Arias," because I used to watch his videos. And one of the things that he used to teach was, in one of his videos, was to not fake it till you make it. Like you don't, who cares if photographers want to have this luxurious job. They want to have, I do photography for the New York Times, and all they do is take pictures in the apartment section of the New York Times. Like that boasting of something, like I do something bigger, better than something else that I really do, doesn't give you anything but a big ego. And I think that actually like relating to something in a realistic way and going, I take pictures at a wedding and I'm assistant, and there's nothing wrong with saying that to people. You're making money, you're learning things. Who knows what the opportunity will come out of those things. I was able to work on Zach. At some point, we hung out after, my wife and I, we after I finished working, made friends. The dude's super cool, lives in Atlanta. He ended up calling me back to help him to assist on photo shoots. He did like HGTV shoots with like Property Brothers and all those people that you see, the personalities. Like I met all those people, and he called me back and said, "Hey dude, I need an assistant, and you want to help me on a shoot?" Cool. I don't need an ego for that. Like I could be like, "Oh dude, like I work with this guy, and I'm a photographer on it." And I'm not. I'm assisting another guy on a big shoot. But I think a lot of people want it to happen, and I think they start lying to themselves over time, and then it becomes like now I kind of have to say these kind of things, because now I'm kind of in over my head a little bit now. Now I'm, "Oh dude, I've been working with these people forever." Like you meet these guys in the street and like, "Oh yo, that artist that's my homeboy, yo." And then they really don't really know them. They just met them and shook their hand and like chit chatted with them a little bit, you know? and they don't know these people. I think that once you let go of that stubborn pride, I think that it makes a huge difference to be able to get over yourself a little bit. And maybe I say that now because South Florida is a very big place for that type of attitude. But I think that a lot of artists think that they're big already. This is what I do, and I'm like better than all these other people, and I'm gonna make a thing. When I think when you're not paying attention to all that, and you're creating and you're moving on to the things that you're learning from, you're reaching out to other artists, you're sharing other brands. I have no problem sharing other clothing brands because I want them to know that what I sell, what people buy from me aren't going to lose them money. You know, like we're not going to lose money on each other. Like I'm not going to end some type of revenue stream for you. So if I could show you something that's going to help you out, or if you could show me something, then hey, it's a mutual creative, you know, it helps everything out, you know. And with that attitude, I think you'll go longer and further and have better relationships. That's my mom with smacking. More better. More better. But I think that is what also gives you a more longevity in a career like this too, is the people that I know that can trust me are the people that I'm going to maintain business with. And also they're the ones that are going to refer me to people. If they know that you're a person that does not, you know, think that you need to give anything to anybody, believe me, everybody knows that, you know, that goes 100%. Around very quickly, you know.
Word of mouth.
MK, it is well over an hour and a half with our buddy.
That's great.
He is a wealth of information, and I got
so much stuff on my graphic design class.
Sincerely, I want to thank you for coming on.
Yeah, Tony, thank you. And thank you for pushing out so much too. And we're gonna push it out once everything's done and edited.
Yeah, for what you've imparted on not just us, but all of our kids who are so, like you said, hyper aware of being creative and wanting to wrangle all of those thoughts and focus and make it work for them and make it something. I think you are a prime example of somebody who is so creative, that has so many different ideas, but has figured out a way, like a problem solver, to make it work and make it work well. So for that, I absolutely applaud you, my friend.
Yeah. Thank you. And if I could leave your students with anything, is that this will be hard. It's always going to be hard. And if something's not, you know, it's not hard, it's not worth doing, you know, and you'll run 1,000,000 miles, but you'll gain 2 inches after that 1,000,000 miles. And that 2 inches is beautiful, man. It's something that they can't take that back from me. And that's just persistence and just sticking with it. So don't get discouraged, keep going, doing your thing. And if you fail, you know, keep it moving and know that that'll just get turned into something else one day. And, you know, now you guys are talking about things I probably haven't even touched in like a while. And then it'd be like, wow, you guys looked into this. And now this is like being refreshed and like kind of brought up in like a whole reboot, you know, other people see it and then they'll be like, oh, wow, I've never seen this before. And let's approach that artist. And, you know, you know, before I get off to, I want to say that I really do appreciate the artists that I also work with directly that are on my website. Lisa Diakova, Julia Gabrielov, my actual family member, my cousin, which is an amazing artist, tattoo artist, Ivanka Collado, and a couple different other people, which this has been a Eric Nine, Carlos Solano, Derek Garcia, and this is only because my memory sucks, and I just want to make sure that I give them the props that they deserve, because I think that without good people to work with, then I wouldn't be doing this now. So if I didn't have that good chain of people that knew what my vision was and that could continue that vision, then I don't think I'd be able to continue doing this right now. So I appreciate those people and the people that inspire me to.
Awesome.
Tony, thank you again for everything, brother. Keep doing what you're doing, man. And listen, I got Devious Element stuff on my Christmas list. So anybody who's listening, I will be sure to send you some things that I want from Devious Elements Apparel.
Maybe you're gonna get cold though, Tom.
I might get cold, but who knows? If I'm lucky, then who knows? Maybe I'll get a little Devious Elements in my.
You know, and I'll tell you this too, and I'll leave you guys on this. Let me know the thing that you want, and I'll send it to you, because you guys need some DV.
Don't call that bluff, my friend. Don't call that bluff.
I'm not. I'm going through a tunnel. I'm just joking. Definitely, no, definitely. I know you want that Darkwing, so let me know. Let me know, and I appreciate you guys, and I appreciate
that text is coming before the weekend's over. Let me tell you right now.
It's the weekend already.
Can you believe it or not? Yes. And with that being said, folks, everybody who's tuned in, thank you for this journey with us on episode 23. We hope you recover from your Thanksgiving feast. And please, please continue to be safe out there. We want to make sure we get through everything. Like we say at the end of every episode, keep loving one another, keep looking out for one another, keep pulling for one another. We're going to get through it. The light's at the end of the tunnel. Everybody, enjoy your weekend, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks. Tony Firpi, thank you for joining us on The Drop. MK, we are good to go, my friend. Another one in the books.
Right, another one in the books.
And I'll do a slow motion high five, like a slow motion.
God bless everybody.
You can end it with the old school TV show.
The freeze.
Yeah,
the freeze.
There you go. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.
Thank you, Tony.
Thanks,